Britannia, Britannia, you are cool. Take a trip, Britons ever, ever, ever shall be. Hip, hip me, hip me.
Good evening. Oh, welcome to another exciting show. Oh, Joe, I'm so excited. Well, I've been overcome by excitement. How are you, Deb? Are you overcome with excitement?
I am. I was getting on in my groove then. I love that music.
It's also hip. Actually, I could show you a little bit later the alternative.
Yes.
Because I had an alternative title to this, but I thought Misdirection is a perfect one.
Yes.
So, but anyway, I hope you're not Tom and Dick this week. I'm not. Are you all right?
Perfectly all right.
Right. Well, we're going to have a D-Day special because today is the 6th of June.
It is.
Which is 78 years since D-Day. And at 6:30 this morning, my late dear old dad was on the first assault wave, jig section Gold Beach, to hit the D-Day beach. And I'm going to go through the fraudulent photographs.
Yes.
About the war, which will be quite controversial. So by saying the word controversial, the YouTube loud howls have started off.
Alert.
So they're all sitting there going, "Oh, what's he going to say?" You know. And some photographs have disappeared from the internet. That's worse. So that's going to be quite interesting.
Yes.
So, but first of all, because it was the 78th anniversary of D-Day, Sebastian was going to come on because his dad was in D-Day as well, and his dad suffered severe shell shock like my dad did, and Sebastian and myself, we had a similar childhood, so we heard things when we were young that children shouldn't have really heard, which affected us. But we're not blaming our dads because we love our dads, because it's all part of shell shock. So there's no blame, you know. We're very close to our dads, so we'll be touching that later. Yes. But shall we show that? Because I'm in the German rock, heavy rock. Shall I show that heavy German rock?
Yeah, let me get me rock on.
Yeah, this is the sound's a bit crap, but I was gonna have this in the intro, but it's too serious, and I preferred Cool Britannia.
I like the music.
So this is the alternative one, which I didn't use in the alternative title. So brace yourself, seatbelts on.
Yes.
That's right. Any animals outside? The sound's shit on this, so don't worry about your speakers. Here it comes.
Can't beat a bit of everything.
I love that sort of stuff. I mean, you got to go to the real. They say American, nah, and Sebastian's into that as well. So yeah, it is going away on his people. And something else to mark the Jubilee occasion, to do the posh bit.
The non-Jubilee occasion.
Non-Jubilee occasion. Deb is now a moderator. Yes, after saying "oh it" and "oh shit" and pressing different buttons here, somehow I made her a moderator. Yes, so there it is. So trolls, welcome, because Deb can go bang you. Right, now shall we have a look in chat?
Let's
or
do
shall I give out? Oh, be better got some. Now the reason Sebastian's not on. Did I mention it? He's a bit Tom and Dick. He's got a cold.
Oh.
So it's tinkly music time, isn't it? So shall we go for the tinkly? Hang on a minute. I've got me. I've lost me. Here it is. It's tinkly music. Here we go. So let's wish him better all the way to Swinton in Manchester. Here we are. So I hope he's feeling a lot better tomorrow, and all the snot's all cleared. Oh, sorry, and all the. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Nice,
Send vibes.
Nice vibes. And also, we've got a competition. And the winner gets a free raspberry and 2-finger salute. Oh, that's it. I've been practicing the abuse, the salutes we should give royalty.
Right.
Okay. Right. So let's start. So I hope Rosanna's in chat. So I've been practicing this. This is Italy. So you put your arm there like that, fist, and do that. So that is an Italian abuse. Okay. I think it's the correct way. Rosanna will. I've been in training on Sunday. She showed me exactly what to do. So that's it.
I'm on board with that.
Of course, Britain saying, I would like 2 of those, please. And America. In Greece, it's na, which means shit in your face. Not to our really nice people here, but that's to, shall we say,
okay.
Yeah, that means shit. Say no. And we're doing this all the time. And when I was in Athens, someone would stop their car, let me go across at the traffic lights. They go, thank you. That means shit in your face. This in Norway, absolutely disgusting. And a lot of hitchhikers have got picked up for.
Don't get picked up.
So there we go. So anybody else with any abuse from around the world, we would welcome it. Of course, it's aimed at, because this is a non-Jubilee special. Yeah. Guess who it's aimed at? And should we go do the competition? Right,
yeah.
This is a call out for Michelle. Now she's got a very lonely Ford Fiesta that's blue. And you see my cars, I've got Rosie 1, which is my Carina, and Rosie 2, which is my smart car.
Yes.
But it hasn't got a name. It's all lonely and it's sitting there, and it's a 2010 Ford Fiesta.
I've got a name.
Nice. What have you got?
Francis the Fiesta.
Francis. That's a good, isn't it? Francis the Fiesta.
Yes.
That's
sorry, I'm putting the competition up now.
That's all right. And I'll tell you something. You can tell a man by his Eichbergs.
Oh, yes.
The Eichberg boots.
There's
yes, here it is. Yeah, I'll have to show my Eichbergs occasionally because I'm a bit kinky like that, it turns ladies' heads, they say. You can tell a man by his Eichbergs. And
don't ask him why they're highly polished.
Oh yeah, highly polished as well. See, and some bright spark yesterday said they look like special needs boots. I didn't know you were special needs. But anyway, Michelle would like a pair, but there's only one trouble. I'm a male and they're larger size for hers. Yeah. So we'll have to have 25 pairs of socks. I worked it out so she could borrow them.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, I haven't forgotten. I'm in contact with the people that supply. So I haven't sent you an email, Michelle. Sorry about that, because I'm a lazy git. Right now, at least I'm honest. Right, let's go through the chat, shall we? Oh, by the way, and Bob bought me a coffee.
Yeah.
So remember, and we're going to have one for you soon, aren't we, Deb? And that is, if you like what we do, if you look down, no, not on my crutch, but yeah. So buy me a coffee, because it saves us having to play the mouth organ, side the cinema, a string,
Broke my triangle playing German rock music.
Sorry?
I broke my triangle playing German rock music.
Yeah, German. I can't name that group, but you can't beat the old Germans for heavy rock, man.
I know how to do it.
Well, here's Bob Thanks, Bob, for the coffee. Much appreciated.
Bob.
That really is. That's it. That's very kind. And then we got hang on, we got a couple of trolls as one. Oh no, sorry. There's the other one. Yeah, just make myself look beautiful for the show. Here we go. Put a lot of effort into it. Because I was going to have some royal souvenirs. But
What do you think?
But there was one that I decided I just couldn't have on it. But I'll try and describe it. It was one was a spray, but I couldn't find an empty spray, and I was going to put on it solemn royal atmosphere, so I could sort of spray it around so we could sort of go like that. And the other one was when Prince Andrew met Fergie. I don't know if I mentioned this. Right, and you're shaking. You're shaking phone. That's too rude, so I've just described it. I think that's better. Right, here we go. Evening also Adam Adamant, the man that lived, what is it, 500 years or something, or 1,000 years. Evening all, I hope everyone stayed nice and dry by keeping out of the purple rain. Yeah. Yes, it was a funny colour, wasn't it? And then we've got here Sebastian Moran, who was going to come on the show, but he's a bit Tom and Dick tonight. So here we go. So we sent healing thoughts to you, mate. So I hope you feel a bit better now.
Yeah.
And he's been very polite. Good evening, everybody. Here we go. That's nice, isn't it? Here we go. And then we got, what's this? Oh, here we go. We haven't got any solemn music, have we? Here's the beautiful Marquis of Scarborough with us tonight.
No.
A woof, quack, and a kiss from me and the dog and the rubber duck. And we're praying for a 1970s convoy.
There it is.
We have to put the advert for the, because it's Raw, we'll have to put the Fuck 'em All advert on.
Yeah. Yes, Queen Deborah.
Well, hang on. And it is, Deborah says, any questions, folks, pop them in capitals. Yeah, I made a balls up on that last week, didn't I?
Yes, he might not have any, I don't know.
Right, and who we got here? Oh, we got Suko.
Hello, Sue.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Sue. How are you? We got Michelle Salisbury. Yeah, boy, your ears burning. Oh, great intro music. Yeah, we was talking about World Fiesta. You know what was it now? It was what is it?
I said Francis, but a lot of people have actually come up with other names. I did see a funny one from Dan. If I can find it.
Down the laboratory, man. Where is it?
Down the laboratory now.
Where are we?
Here we are. No, we're not.
Oh, I was going to say, was it? I won't be able to read this one out for obvious reasons, but Adam Adamant.
Yeah, I'd say about 4 years. 4 years over.
Yeah.
I've lost it now.
Mind you, I got his souvenir when he met Fergie, haven't I? With it. Yeah. He liked shaving. That was it. He was into shaving. That was it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Right. We got it. Where is it? You lost it. Where is
I've lost it.
Yes. Oh, hang on. When I did the Italian salute,
it was Kevin. It was Kevin, and he said Uncle Festa the Fiesta.
Uncle Festa the Fiesta.
Yeah, I like that.
Brilliant one.
Yeah,
that one. That's a really good one. What do you think of that, Michelle? Is it all right? Oh, by the way, she comes over all unnecessary if I show her my boots. So, ready, Michelle? You're going to come over all unnecessary
sit down,
now.
Michelle, sit down.
There's the Ike boots.
Oh,
special needs boots. Right. Yes, a man with his Eichbergs. It's nice to wear them with a suit, isn't it?
Oh, lovely, yeah. Get your trousers
what's this? Hang on, we've got here beautiful music. I'm praying for a bit of downtown sung by Petula Clark. Oh, Petula Clark. Nah. She was with that bloke. What was his name? Oh, I can't think. Downtown. Yeah, it's all right. Was it? And then we got here. What was it? Stewie. I thought I was in the wrong place for a minute. We might be. You never know. Oh, Roseanne will be proud of you, Chris. This is for. Was it? She showed me. She gave me training. She had to give abuse training. It was very good. It was. That's it. You know, That's
Like it.
Italian.
I can work with that.
I can work with that, yes. Of course, we've got this, haven't we? Which is sort of, you know, like that. It's not as good as the Italian one.
No.
See, when
I
it
quite
comes
like
to abuse,
Italian.
that's it. It says here, hi, everyone. My auntie married a Yank. Yes, did she wear American knickers, one yank and they're down? Oh, sorry. And who scaled the cliffs on D-Day to find non-existent artillery. He had appalling health issues.
Oh.
Ever after. I'm sorry with that, Paul. And I didn't mean to make fun of your auntie. I'm terribly sorry. I didn't realise it was a serious message. So please accept my apology. But we're going to go on to that a little bit later about that. But that is very interesting. He scaled the lift. Well, he must have been next to my dad's lot, who were on Gold Beach, because where the film Saving Private Ryan is depicted, it's next to it. And the Americans gave the game away because they went in half hour earlier. So it was an absolute bloodbath. But we'll be going on to that a little bit later about the fakes that people believe to this day, and there's certain pictures that's been disappeared from the internet, which is quite interesting. So where we got here, we've got loads of people saying hello. So we got Joe. Hello, Joe. We've got Joe Weeks. Don't ask, glad to see you again in chat. Hope you've been okay. Okay.
She must have been talking to somebody somewhere.
Yes. Next Wednesday at 3 o'clock, but only if there's an Irish month. Right. Right. Now we've got here.
Now, Kim says that Kim's suggestion for a name is Fanny the Fiesta.
Well, this is what Michelle says. Actually, Kim, my last car, a Focus, was called Fanny.
Yep. Mine was as well.
You had a funny Fanny, didn't you? Car I'm talking about, of course.
My car now is called Malcolm.
Malcolm
the Mondeo.
Malcolm the Mondeo. I like that.
Yeah.
Rosie's a bit of a weird name for a car, isn't it? No.
My mate called his car Rosie because when he picked her up and drove her back home, he put the radio on and a whole lot of Rosie was on by Led Zeppelin. And he was like, Rosie. So that's why she's called Rosie.
Well, it's called Rosie because it's the first girl I had a crush on when I was about 10 years old. It's school. It's probably on a Zimmer frame now. That's just it. What is it? Andrew is okay now. Apparently, he sweated the Rona.
No, not a drop of sweat comes from that man. That can't be true.
I can't read that out, Kim. I can't read it out.
That's what we're laughing at. You will leave that there.
Yes, you bleeding wood, mate, wouldn't you?
Oh, dear me.
Vivek Cena.
We have no idea.
Well, we ain't got a bleeding clue either. So if you can give us an idea, we might be able to help us. Now, we're going to be going on the D-Day thing and the Royals later on. So there we go. Because we've got to get rid of the boring bits first.
Yeah.
Now, hang on. Can we discuss the underlying meaning of Paddington and the
Pharaonic Queens?
Queen, please.
Could you like give us a bit of a clue what you're on about, and then we might?
Yes. Well, it could be about the pharaohs who never died away, and they're still around today.
Yes.
I know a little bit about it. Now, Sue Co, we have a Freelander. We all have our problems. Called Eric. 110 Defender called Jack, and a Land Rover Discovery called Tiger.
That's cute.
Yes.
We used to have a 110.
Sorry?
We used to have a 110.
Did you really?
Yes. I couldn't drive.
I like the old one.
Drove the seat back.
Trouble is, it's like driving a sort of. Someone described driving a Land Rover, the old ones, like driving a brick-built shithouse on wheels.
Yeah.
And
tell you what,
would describe. Yeah, you're sort of built to last forever. Now we got here. Vivek C. Nair. Do you guys know what's inside the... Can you guys tell Do you know anybody who have checked it? Yes, Richard D. Hall,
Yes.
richplanet.net. He was the man to speak to. I know him. He's a good mate. Well, I say good mate. I wouldn't say good mate. I've only met him a couple of times, but he's a good man.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a good one to start with. Yes, we could start with that. The trouble is we've got to be very careful what we say because we can be banned.
Yes.
And I don't know what's in it, but I certainly don't want it, whatever is in it. So if anybody knows, you know.
Have they come up with for the banana thing that's going round?
Oh yes, yes. Because Kim said last week, "Are you chimpho?" Oh,
Yeah.
Kim, who it was? Chimp. Sorry, I can't even remember it. Yeah.
I can't remember what it was now. Yeah, but that was funny. I've had a few bananas, so I think I should be okay.
Right. Now, we've got Ancient Ruby. She says, oh, hang on. Was it the real Queen with Paddington? Well, I don't believe that she's... I think that'll thaw her out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That's why there's a puddle around her. If they forgot the incontinence ads, I just don't know. But anyway.
Asymptomatic. She's put it in there. Look.
Hey, thanks, Kim. It's asymptomatic.
I love that.
By the way, people are probably asking, where has John Hamer escaped to this week?
He's on a road trip.
He's on a road trip. Hang on, where's he gone? And this is a bit, well, this is interesting. He had a phone call. I don't know how much I can tell you about this, but
this is it, isn't it?
Today because he was going to say a lot about, you know, the royals and that. But someone phoned him and said he's got some information that's so red hot that he daren't say it over the phone or in letter or anything. Can he meet him? Mm-hmm. So he thought, it's interesting. Mm-hmm. But he said he sounded genuine. So he's taken Dave the Prepper with him. And you don't mess with Dave the Prepper. As a body.
Status.
So they're meeting in the border somewhere, you know, up north, further north than you are, Deb. Yeah. You know, north of Scarbados, even further.
Yeah.
So he's taking Survivalist Dave with him, and Survivalist Dave, you wouldn't mess with him.
Not when he's prepared to meet people to survive.
That's right. Yes, meat.
He's going to need some meat.
That's right. Hang on, what we got here? Suko 8 pops. CGL. Oh, you're talking about Queenie. Yes, I really do believe that. I think she croaked it some time ago. You know. But where should we start? Should we start with the royals or shall we start with D-Day? So
it's up to you.
She'll be picking my nose on the screen. I've got to watch. Yeah. I'll just stretch me bum. Here we go.
I'll send you some mittens. I'll stop you.
Well, I did say I was polite because when I'm in polite company and break wind loudly or scratch my bum with my foot slightly inwards, I always say pardon. So that shows I'm well schooled, you know, I'm well trained, you know. Right. Now, what's this? Is Bob? He says, I won't be here next Monday live. I'll be on a plane to Bulgaria.
How very dare you, Bob, going to Bulgaria without us.
Is there any reason why Bulgaria, or is it just you go somewhere?
It's a very nice holiday destination. My grandma and granddad used to go quite regularly back in the 70s and 80s.
Yes, and I know a Bulgarian. His name, yes, and he's got British national citizenship, I was going to say. And yes, he's in Bulgaria at the moment. He might have got home actually, and he's got a mate of mine, and Angelin is his name, and he's now English. He's got English citizenship and that because he likes this island and us nutcases.
Yeah,
and Monty Python as well. So there we go. Right, so good trip, mate. You know, I hope you enjoy your holiday there. That's good, you know. Right, I think it looks like we're going into the royals all of a sudden. So as and it says here, this is Bulgaria has no conditions.
I was going to ask about that actually. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, you can go soon. You'll be able to go to Italy without having to wear have the old
Just don't do the salute.
Yes. Now, somebody I agree with here. I like this. Hang on, just beforehand. We're going to talk about the royal reptiles.
Yes, very good.
Yes, that's right. Now we got here. Jubilee was the biggest waste of money. Those flag wavers will know all about it if the shit hits the extractor fan. Yes, you're quite right. I'll just what royals? There aren't any indigenous royals. They are correct, 100% correct. I'll just read this out from Vivek C now. A lot of people, I hope I pronounced your name right, mate. Sorry. A lot of people in the world is. Do you really think it's all true? No, I think they've hyped the figures up. I know people who have taken blood tests after being. They are all healthy and normal. What is going on?
They're not healthy.
Well, they're not healthy. You're right. The show that I got banned with, that was with Professor Moss.
Yeah.
Moss. We looked into mass formation, and that is 30% of people will go along with whatever the government says. And it doesn't matter if the government said, walk along with your finger up your arse, they'd walk along with their finger up their arse. You know, hey, that's very good, you know, it's marvellous. And then you've got 40% of people will go with the flow. And then 30% of people are us that can see through it and say, it's a load of old, I was going to say bullshit, but yeah, it is bullshit. So what it really is that I think they've got to hype the figures up. And this is the subject matter we're going to talk about tonight. And that is the world is run by PR.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about it. Now, for example, look at the Queen. People are told, now, in my view, a person has to earn their respect.
Yes.
I respect the elderly. I respect people that's had a tough life and have a lot of wisdom. But I don't respect someone whose ancestors were Normans who stole off the English to get what they want and who are fake. Now you're thinking the Queen, fake. Well, I believe, and a lot of people I'm really going to go through the gauntlet now, believe the last king was Harold, who, you know, he was in that's right, 1066. And he just said, no, it's just an eyelash. That's all it is, you know. And but no, seriously, you know, where's all these effing arrows coming from? Oh shit! No, but no, seriously, it was Harold. But then, what we had is the Normans. What people don't realise, took over this country, which is England, and turned everyone into slaves.
Yeah.
And they took over the manor houses and things like that. And that's where serfism came in. And before the Normans invaded, there was no such thing as taxation.
No.
They introduced taxation. So we got a lot, and they were only 2 or 3 generations away from Vikings.
Yes.
But strangely enough, it was a lot of Vikings that fought against them. Because what people don't realise is that shoulder to shoulder, the Battle of Hastings were Picts, Scots, Irish, and Vikings.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
You know, people don't realise that because they knew that if England fell, they would fall.
Yeah.
And when you hear about the horrible things that happen, and I'm not trying to sort of, because we're all with our ancestors, we don't know what our grandparents got up to, but we're all a bit Norman. You can't help it. You must be. Because I know that my mother's side is part French and my father's side is part German, which is so like, and that's why the German rock comes from, isn't it? And we got a lot of German people, you know, listening in. But the thing is that, viewing us. They're not just listening in. But what I was going to say is that then, of course, we had the royal lineage because the royals, their true job was to be the eyes and ears of the poor. So if you had a situation where most of the people were illiterate in those days, where somebody was a landlord, was trying to extort you or anything like that, you would actually you could go to the king or the queen and they would listen to it and they would defend you if they thought that you were in the wrong. Yeah. So they were representatives of the poor. That's why they went into battle and that type of thing. But then we go through and, of course, we've got Cromwell, who we got monuments to him everywhere, who I think was one of the greatest traitors this country's ever had, because Edward I, King Longshanks, abolished usury, and in the 13th century, I believe it was. You can correct me in chat. And he booted out Jehovah's Witnesses from this country. People are not allowed to criticise. And again, I'm not against anybody, but the money ones who are ruthless, the psychopaths of any religion, culture, or whatever, I'm against. So it doesn't matter who they are. They could be Christian, Jewish, Muslim. If they're psychopaths that harm humans, hate their guts. Get rid of them.
I agree.
So that's the thing. This is the problem we've got. Who is the enemy? The enemy is psychopaths. And it doesn't matter what brand they come as, psychopaths, as Dr. Hare said, well, he came very close to admitting they're not quite human.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. They go against their own. So it could be, say, a Christian psychopath will go against Christians. A Jewish psychopath will go against Jews because they've got no sense of feeling.
No.
So what happens is that Edward Longshanks, Edward I, booted out all the coin clippers and the goldsmiths and the people that operating their usury scam. And usury is where you get a loan, and then when you go to pay the loan back, you get compound interests. Yeah. So if you borrow £100, you've got to pay £110 back, and then when you pay the £110 back, it goes up to 120. Yeah. You pay 120 back, and it goes up to 150. And Einstein said the eighth wonder of the world is usury.
Yeah,
is compound interest, because no wonder they get away with it. So what happened is Cromwell, he to get money for his new model army, went to the Netherlands and went to the banksters there, and they said, yes, we'll go and loan you the money for your new model army, but when you win, we want to come back and open a bank, and you've got to reinstate usury, which he did.
Yeah.
So therefore ensuring that every generation is in massive debt to pay back a loan that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And then in the 1690s, these Dutch banksters, I said with a B, not a W, set up the Bank of England, which should have been the bank of the people we're not allowed to criticise.
Yes.
And the Queen, and then royalty, because Cromwell chopped the King's head off.
Yeah.
Which nowadays would have been done with a Black and Decker, wouldn't it? Whatever. But joking aside, he cut his head off, and the royalty was reintroduced, shall we say, by bankers' choice. And that's why people say that Lizzie is, let's face it, that they've intermarried with the bankster families like the Rothschilds and people like that. So that is a very potted history. Actually, your mic's off, Deb.
Sorry, I'm just talking to somebody in the background.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I thought you were suffering from out of sync by seeing too many of these foreign films. Hello, darling.
Yeah.
There's badly dubbed foreign films. Type of films that I did not see when I was a teenager.
Yeah, those sort of films.
I think my nose is going on a bit longer, isn't it? Yeah. Would I lie?
Just take me.
I wouldn't see that film. Yes, with people with terrible asthma going. I was very innocent. But now where are we? Now the thing is that was what was said about the royals. But did you know that the Queen is not the Queen because she got in a coronation the year before the coronation in 1952? The Scottish nationalists stole the Stone of Destiny. And apparently, I haven't seen it. Apparently, you can still see the stone to this day in Edinburgh. Whether that's true or not, I do know. But she got knighted on a fake stone, which means she's not really the Queen.
All right. Well. And
also, I believe she signed away our rights. Was it the Lisbon Treaty, which is under the 1848 Treason Sedition Act? Is treason.
Treason.
So why would you have a jubilee for someone that's committed treason and whose sons are friends of nonces?
Yes.
It's a funny family, isn't it? whose mummy pays a lady who one of them's never seen to keep her mouth shut.
Yeah.
Our money, by the way, yours and ours, Dosh, you know. Yeah. Right. So there we go. So that is a potted history of the royals. So what it is, again, it's PR.
Yeah.
We're told that they're marvellous. And I mean, my mum used to say, oh, it was marvellous during the war. The Queen Mother stayed in London. Well, if Germany would have invaded, they'd have been up to Liverpool and in a submarine to go to Canada, because quicker than a greyhound with a rocket up its arse.
Yeah.
Now, Churchill, did you know that they had a bolt hole in Canada? It's a tourist attraction now.
Right. Yes, I do.
So they were discovered. So much for the people, you know. And all this stuff about Churchill worship. He was the most evil man I think there's ever been. He was the second greatest traitor this country's ever had.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot I could say about Churchill, but people say, oh, he's a marvellous man. Why do you think he's a marvellous man? Because I keep telling you he is.
Yeah.
It's all PR. That's all they're obsessed with.
It is,
PR.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for it, I mean, do you remember Alistair Burnett? I think his name was. He used to metaphorically lick the royal arses, you know.
Yes.
It's Her Majesty. Here she comes out now. And they have the royal watchers. Oh, yes. Royal reporters. Do you know they can afford the finest PR team ever? So let's face it, if someone like Howard Shipman had royal connections and was so rich, people will be worshipping Howard Shipman. What a marvellous doctor he is.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, what a marvellous man. Oh, shit, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is the thing. We're all, without bullshit, you couldn't fight a war. So I believe that bullshit is the most dangerous weapon in the world. Because without it, you can't fight wars. You can't have fake royals. You can't really do anything. You can't have taxation.
No.
And when you look at taxation, you think about it, the NHS is not fit for purpose.
No.
And I've been going into this for a long time. With Caroline Stevens, we looked into it. It was founded by eugenicists. And people don't realise that. And top of the Eugenicist Society was Churchill. And second was Beveridge. And Beveridge, in 1943, he started designing the NHS, and it was put into operation in 1948. But it was a con from the beginning, because it was a cash cow for industry, the nuclear industry, and also the pharmaceutical industry. And that's how you got nuclear medicine, which the two words don't really go together, isn't it? Really, you know, it's a bit like Harry Carry medicine, isn't it? You know, you get a lot of, oh, well, you think about it, Harry Carry medicine would cure someone. Why? Because it kills them.
Yeah.
You know, kamikaze pilot. I mean, can you imagine if they needed kamikaze pilots today? You know, they get an advertising thing, and it'd be join. It wouldn't be kamikaze, the Enlightenment part. You know, so the healthy benefits of flying with an open cockpit. And in very small writings, it's a one-way journey. You know,
yeah.
You have people queuing at the block going, "Oh yeah, I want to be an Enlightenment pilot. I like flying.
Sounds really good.
Free fuel expenses as well. Marvellous. Yeah, have some of that." You would have the 30% volunteering.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when the Falklands War, there was a queue of young blokes stretching around the corner at the army recruiting offices that wanted to go to the Falklands. Well, if they're that sort of mentality, sod off there.
Yeah. You volunteer away.
Yeah. But John Basinglow, hello, John. In my opinion, yeah, I agree. David Irving is a true hero for the truth. That is just my informed opinion. Well, you're spot on there, because I've got a lot of respect for David Irving. Well, he's lost it recently, but when he reported on, it says, I said it again, sorry. And when he, David Irving did say, because he went through Mr. H's scripts, Mr. H said the truth. Well, was it in the very, very distant future, everyone will realise I was right. And the second one, he said the truth will be revealed by an Englishman. and David Irving thought it was him.
Right.
And there we go. Because David Irving can speak fluent German.
Right.
So there we are. Right. So there it is. So this is the bit about the royals that I was actually saying. To me, they're fake royals. But do we need a royal family? Or if they have to be royal, why can't they just be ordinary and be like they used to be, with the eyes and ears of the poor? Because the Queen, how can she have? You think how many rooms is Buckingham Palace now? And there's homeless ex-service people in the streets.
Yep.
They could house a lot there. She also owns Canada. The Canadians only own 1 foot of soil under their feet. Below that, it belongs to the Queen.
Yeah.
So if they strike all the diamonds, she gets it.
And
how can that be right?
And all the castles that she's got, when she's in one castle, all the other ones are standing empty.
Precisely.
What point?
Yeah. But I mean, another thing that gets me is that all this kind of, you can only speak to her if spoken to. And if she finishes her meal, you've got to finish it. And there was a woman thing from the West Indies. She was on a documentary once, and she said she always wanted to meet the Queen. And she was, because a lot of West Indian people are very patriotic.
Yeah.
And she was standing in line, and the Queen came along. And she said, I can't remember what she said, but it's something like, Her Majesty, it's great to, it's an honour to meet you. And she said, speak when you're spoken to, and moved on to the next person. And she said after that, she was totally anti-royalist.
Yeah.
Totally. Speak when you're spoken to. And what annoys me is the snobbery. It's like, I've got better education than you, and all that. And I think that's gone. We don't need that sort of type. I think that there have been a few roles that have been okay. I think the one that died her father, the Queen's father, allegedly her father, because did you know what happened with the Queen's gynecologist? He wrote in his diary, the Queen and Margaret were the Queen Mother, Bowsline, whatever her name was, gave birth by some means or other. Isn't that very strange? By some means or other.
Work
that out for yourself. By some means or other. Strange, isn't it?
That's strange.
Yes. Now we got Greg Lord here. Prince George is genetically a full Rothschild. They have spent years of inbreeding to promote this apex of the Illuminati family. Well, there is a theory. Now, I heard this from Town Crier, so I don't know too much about it. And he got it from somebody else. And I have seen this on the internet, that the pharaohs didn't disappear.
Right.
And the pharaohs are actually the banking families. Because when you look at their heads, because they had elongated heads. And it wasn't because because in some African cultures, they bind children's heads to make them elongated. Yeah. But when you look at, then you see a side view of a Rothschild, it's slightly elongated. They're very high foreheads. Mind you, I've got a high forehead because I've got a very wide part. Not part my hair. It's an alternative, what they call it, Mohican. So it's coming out the side, not the top, you see. People don't realise that. This is a central party. People think I'm bald, but it's just like a wide central party. Can you smell something? That's bullshit, isn't it? Yeah. That's funny. But that is really, when you look at some of the scandals of the Queen, for example, if you look back at some of our earlier programs with John Hamer, he went into the Jack the Ripper murders.
Yeah. And
where Prince Eddie, he wasn't involved in murder, no, but he used to knock it around with the naughty ladies in the East End, as one of his relatives did later on in the 1930s.
Yes.
And it was Prince Edward. And I know that's a fact. I also know something else. I suppose I can say it now. I knew somebody whose sister nursed him in America because he caught something that is not spoken about in polite company, and it's not a cold.
Yeah. Downstairs.
It's not a clap about, I'll tell you that. And allegedly, I believe, allegedly, I don't want the royal people coming over to me. But when you think about it, close cousins marrying each other, I mean, what a genetic line they've got.
Yeah.
You know,
something's got to go wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, something is going to go wrong. Yeah. So if you look back, it's about last year, I think it was, with John Hamer and myself. We looked at it actually has a lot of people look at it. It's about the Jack the Ripper murders. Churchill's father was allegedly involved in it, and it involves the prostitutes who tried to bribe the royals because of what Prince Eddie, what he got up to.
Yeah.
And a team was sent in that included Churchill's father, the Queen's surgeon, the chief of police, who did an alleged Masonic ceremony because apart from one, when they found the dead bodies, there was no blood in the corpses.
Yeah.
And the police were told to stand down. Yeah, sorry. That's right. And there was one, but it wasn't because they were almost caught red-handed.
Yeah.
So they got out. But they reckon that last one may not have been the 4 key people. It might have been just a nutter.
Yeah.
That, so
Copycat.
we just don't know. That's right. Now, shall we go into chat and then have an advert and then we go on to D-Day, shall we?
Yeah.
Which is controversial, what I've got to say. And now let's, bloody hell, where do we start? Deb? Hang on. Let's go back. There's people getting ahead of themselves here. We got here. Churchill bombed Dresden, I think. Well, they blame Bomber Harris, but it's actually Churchill. Yeah, you're quite right there. Killed loads. But we'll go on to Dresden. Please remind me a little bit later because it's not what we think it was. It was actually to show the Soviets the Allies' firepower because the war was virtually over.
Yeah.
Now, you've got here Bob Olio, my mate pissed on Churchill Hill's. Good for him! That's it. Do you know, if I'd have been, I'd have been envious. I would have wanted a bit of the old Welshes if I'd seen his grave. The diarrhea. Sorry. Now it says the hidden shipments are in the. Oh yes,
Yeah.
Bob Olio. So hidden are in the NHS.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe that we have countless unqualified staff because let's face it, Deb, if you and I had the money, we could go to a third world country and come back as brain surgeons.
Yeah.
You name it, qualification.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed it myself because when I went in with my blood pressure going sky high, which was enough to send me bloody blood pressure over the top. A lot of the nurses there, I'm positive, bought their qualifications. Yeah, I mean, there was some that were very nice, I have to admit that, but they were outnumbered. But, oh, by the way, I must say, I went down to like quack, because I call them quacks, because that's what they are, because I'm still on these toxic tablets for blood pressure, but I'm taking less. I'm going to slowly cut them out. Yes, see? And they run out on Sunday. Now, to phone the local surgery, it takes an hour and a half. So I thought, balls to that. So I sent a letter in.
Yeah.
See? So I sent a letter. And what do? I take it down and just put the letter in and walk away. See? And that's not better because you get more information over.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to have my blood pressure taken because when I'm in a clinical environment, my blood pressure goes through the roof. I just can't relax in that environment. And the second thing, because my tablets run out on Sunday, I want to pick them up Friday. Why? Because I'm an awkward bastard and I don't really want to pick them up Monday because I've got the show playing, see? So that's more important, you see. So I'll put that down and that. So when I went in there, I was standing in the queue, and do you know that receptionists, you become invisible? Did you know that? In front of a receptionist? So you sort of... They can't see you see. Anyway, I was there, and these bloody great boxes. One for coffee morning to raise money for Ukraine, and the second one is to give to Ukraine. So since when does a local doctor surgery become a political agenda?
Yes.
There's
nothing to do with it whatsoever.
That's right. And I was just waiting for this saucy cow as I was standing here loading my letter like this. Because I think if you put a letter, and of course, when you put a letter in, always little tip, put carbon copy to people, and then they don't ignore it, do they?
Yeah, exactly.
I put the letter in, and I was waiting for her to say, "Excuse me, have you got a Mars?" And I was waiting to say, "No, I don't sell them. Try eBay." But she didn't say it. So thank you, and I walked out. But oh, bloody hell, what a place! Do you know, it really gives me the hump in those places. But anyway, so shall we go back into chat, do an advert, and then we go on D-Day? So there we go. So I don't know where to start here. First of all, I apologise for not reading everybody's comments out. So I am human. I'm sorry. Don't take it personally, everybody. But, you know. But and we got a moderator now. So Deb's a moderator. So have you seen anything? I'm looking at this one, which is quite a good advert. It says this is Vivex. See now. It says I've read the books of Hamer. Bless you, my son. But just to play devil's advocate here, what if they play an essential role in our human society? Maybe the so-called evil, secretive people are just trying to save us. That's an interesting thought, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Don't know. Yeah.
They've left now anyway.
No, I don't think so. I disagree with you. I politely disagree with you on that one. But if you've got an interesting point which is raised, and you know, more evidence. Yeah, so that's it. And it says the poison is the future for big. Yes. I can't really read most of this out, Ancient Ruby. I hope you understand.
People can read it on the screen.
Yes. That's right. Yes, you're spot on there. Yes. But because did I tell you, I saw a psychic doctor when I was in hospital. It's brilliant. It was bloody brilliant. Yeah. It's this psychic. The NHS had psychic. You see, they kept asking me what year I was born, and I found out it's because I saw a doctor for literally 1 minute, and she said your blood pressure is due to what is it now? Is genetic. So she'd been contacting my relatives,
ancestors.
That's amazing. And then she walked off. I thought, but I'll tell you something, they rushed off their feet. I mean, this woman hardly had 2 hours to spare to talk about her holiday at the nursing station. I mean, that's how good she was. I mean, yeah. But now, the stone is the stone of sconce. That's it. And yes, thanks, Shirley. And it's in Edinburgh Castle. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Oh, it's a good one. I think I'm watching somewhat slightly dazed. I can't read this out, mate, but you understand. I think we're talking about that special stuff. Yes.
Yes. Begins with A.
Yes, right. Yes. And it ends with what we got on our computers with this Chrome, isn't it?
Yes. That's quite true.
That's right. We've got Chrome books and things like that, aren't we? Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, nice to see you, folks. There we are. Yes, I think you're right there. But I actually think she's brown bread. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that'll get her out of freezer a couple of days before the Jubilee, thaw out. Or I think they dig her up, don't they? You know.
Yeah.
And someone behind and hello. Yeah. But why is it that people queue up to see them? So bloody what? I mean, I've actually met Chuck Yeager.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Chuck Yeager was the first American to break the sound barrier, and they made a film about it. Yeah. And he's about 5'5". I felt tall next to him. I'm 5'7". He's like a jockey, and his wife was taller than him. And I actually opened the door to BBC, and he walked forward and said, "Thank you very much." Well, he didn't sound like Elvis, but I tried to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, but that's it. He's the reincarnation of Elvis.
Yeah.
But no, to me, yeah, I bet Schalk Jaeger. And people are thinking, what's he doing around the BBC? I worked in their architects department, freelance.
Ah.
Well, I was freelance a long time ago. But anyway, that's it. And now we've got here Suko. It says, is it really true Queenie had a twin? I don't know. But I do know, it's not Natsbury, it's a place in South London where the Royals, where they had the deformed births, they used to send them to. It's a lunatic asylum. Yeah. My dad told me because he used to deliver gum and paper to it. And I think he went in the reception, you could hear sort of in the background. And everybody knew it was where they, because apparently what they said in the 30s was that when the Royals gave birth to something deformed, they'd swap it.
Yeah.
Around. Because I don't think, when you looked at, who was her name, Kate's pregnancy, now you're female, most of our, did you think she was pregnant? But I didn't.
I don't know. I didn't really I don't watch the telly much, so I didn't see a lot of her, to be honest.
Yeah, but what about that woman that was somebody came who was a nurse who allegedly committed suicide just after?
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
Very odd. So there's lots of weird things surrounding the Royals.
Yeah.
You know, it says Queen is German anyways. Yes, that's right. She's German. And did you know that Victoria only spoke German to Albert? I don't think he could speak much English. And it was him that introduced Christmas trees to this country. Yes. Did you know Christmas trees?
Yep.
And did you know that this is what I got for my birthday?
It's in what you were drinking last week.
Oh, that was disgusting, wasn't it? I think we lost a lot of viewers last week with the slime. I had it before the show. My slime. Chew it. It's bloody disgusting.
I gathered when you were trying to tip the cup up and nothing was coming out.
But no, you know, when you look at it, and of course they weren't called the Windsors, were they? They changed their name to Windsor during the First World War. No. So it's all a load of the shit of the bull. You know?
Yes, shit.
And it says here, I think they have lookalikes. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I think they do. Yes. It's funny because Town Cry's a bit quiet tonight, and I was talking about Englishness and England.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's because he has something to do with the English Constitution, partly plug, which yeah, but he's bloody quiet, you know. So I don't know. Perhaps he's a beekeeper. Perhaps he's been stung up the arse by a bee today. So you never know. It's Dan MC. It's a Rand Corporation tabletop exercise playing out. All of it. Check out Whiteboard Gematria on BitChute's latest video. Thanks, mate. I'll have a look at that. Yes, that's quite true. You know, when you look at it, I mean, isn't it amazing how one thing starts, another one ends, one thing ends, another thing starts?
Yeah.
Because where's terrorism gone? We don't have it now, do we?
No. Funnily enough.
No, that's sort of strange, isn't it? Now let's have a look down here. This is true, Shirley. Taxation is illegal because I don't really want to go deep into this because we pay it forward on behalf of our birth certificate because they can only debit us via our birth certificate.
Yeah.
Because our birth certificate is like a limited company.
Yes.
So when, for example, if I work for, I don't know, Tesco's and you work for Sainsbury's and they disagree with each other, we went to court, I'd represent Tesco, you would represent Sainsbury's. Whoever lost, we wouldn't pay it out of our own money. It'd come out of the company money, wouldn't it? So it's the same with your birth certificate. Yeah, because that's why a bank statement is in capital letters, because it's to your birth certificate. We don't, you know, that's it. But that's the straw man. Some people say it's a load of bullshit. Some people say it isn't. I don't know. I think there's something in it myself. I mean, you know, there is a lot in it because it's all a big con. And when you look at, was it 1666, this coup de vie law, which I can never pronounce properly, which is a bit of Latin. And, it's quid quest de vie, or I can just, I am Latin. Right, I'm not all that good at bleeding Latin, like, Right, here we go. And it says here, we should find out where their tunnels and underground cities are and take them over. That's quite interesting, Kevin, because that's a good point, because I know, I don't know how I should say this, but people think that, that there's an underground tunnel that goes underneath the palace, Buckingham Palace, and I have never signed the Official Secrets Act, so I can say this. And I was doing a contract once where a bloke said to me, he got these plans out, he put them on a table, and he said, and I sort of looked at this underground map. I thought, that's interesting. I haven't seen one like that. And there's a tunnel that goes under Buckingham Palace, and it goes right the way around. And he said, you have signed the Official Secrets Act, haven't you? I said, I should have lied.
Yeah,
but I was honest. No. Oh. But what I gathered from this, and I think I can get away with this, it was at London Underground, actually. I did a contract there.
Right.
And what it was, you remember the King's Cross fire?
Yes.
Well, what happened is, I don't know if I could tell you about this or not. They didn't tell us. Yeah, okay, bullshit. What happened is, it's a build up of methane down the underground, because the government had cut back on the pumps that pump the sewage of some of these rooms. And it was a half truth what they said. Somebody with a cigarette threw it down, or something started the light, and there's sprinkler systems in the underground, and all the sprinkler heads had actually fizzled off, and while that had happened, there's a fireball had gone straight up and vaporized people, went straight up the escalator, and it was caused by methane.
Right.
So that's what they kept back. It was methane that really caused it. But it was long enough ago. I think I can get away with this now. And what they did, they upgraded all the stations to meet the new fire regulations.
Yeah.
And being a contract geezer, I said, don't really want to work on that. How much? I'll work on that. Because you're money folding stuff. But no, actually, when you realize, you think you're going to have a life of Riley. No, you don't, because you keep working. You don't have holidays because you don't know when your next contract's going to come along.
That's it, yeah.
And the building industry goes in 11-year cycles, crash, boom, crash, boom, crash, boom. It has done since the Middle Ages. So you'll have 11 years of boom and 11 years of crash. And that it just keeps on doing that, and nobody quite knows the reason why.
That's weird.
Yeah. So where do we get? Oh yes. So if Queenie wanted to get away, we think she would go via RF Nilfault. No, it'd be via North Weald, because North Weald has loads of underground stations. And as I'm speaking, the Secret Service blokes with their black jackets are getting in their cars, saying, "Now where does he live?" Yes, right. We go and pay him a visit, shall we?
Let's get up that cul-de-sac.
Let's get up there, yes. Now, what's his car's name? Rosie, right? We'll find out. Bastard with a smart car. Here he goes. I think I'll get away with this. I mean, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is a long time ago. I think there's been hundreds of theories out there since then. So it's...
I think most people know that underneath North Weald isn't what you think it is. And there's a reason why the underground goes out to Essex, Debden and places like that, which is really strange. But apparently what happened is when Idi Amin was in Uganda, they used to fly aircraft apparently out of North Weald with lots of all kinds of things going to Uganda, because he was put there because he went to Sandhurst. He put there by the British, but that's another story. So there we go. Yes. Now let's have a go back into the chat. So, see anything interesting, Deb? Oh, hang on. There's loads of interesting things here. Oh, hang on. I like this one. Hang on. There's some good ones here. Joey, like they have a... Yes, I agree with you.
Yep.
There is a cure. Well, actually, what you need to do is if you go... It's a quick plug here. if you go on to my BitChute channel, you didn't see this on YouTube, but the other week I interviewed these two people.
You did.
And what really made Tom and Dick. And go on there, put the old thumbs up, and we're doing naughty stuff on there. And I'm hoping to interview a few people who would not be allowed on YouTube. And they're coming back, and they want to speak to us, so they want to speak to Deb and John, and so it's going to be
superb,
like a round discussion. That'll be good, wouldn't it? So we'll be able to say out loud. Won't have to do all that, you see. And,
yeah, exactly.
Some naughty things. Right. So there we go. And now, this is an interesting one. They had kamikaze pilots that smashed into. Yes, that's interesting. Yes,
I think that was all holograms and what do they call it? Invisible weapons. What do they call it?
Oh, I know what you mean. Well, there is a theory that it was a nuclear bomb that went off through it, but
no,
but the idea that there's bombs in there. I mean, I've actually done surveys of offices, and people are so bored that once you start getting your tape out, they're coming over to you saying, "Hello, who are you? What are you doing here?" and all that, because they're bored shitless most of the time.
Yeah.
And to put bombs in there, I've seen the way these demolition experts have planted bombs. Number one, there'd be too many people in it.
Yes.
Onto it. And if you're going to commit a crime, you don't have, every Tom, Dick, and Harry dealing with it. And two, there'd have been people crawling all over the building, in all the offices and everywhere. And somebody somewhere would have seen it. So no, I don't think so. I think the possibility.
Is it infrasound I'm thinking of?
Yeah. Yeah, they probably used that because they knew about that in the 60s, didn't they?
Yep.
Because I remember seeing films of them shaking a building to bits with infrasound,
Yeah.
Right. Now, this is Bob Hollyoak here. Hang on. First of all, we go to unwashed and... Sorry, Bob, we'll come back to you in a moment. Unwashed and slightly dazed. Switzerland is the homeland of the scumbags, I think. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Something was written in 1907 in Switzerland. The protocols are beep censored. Yes, I think you know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, better not say any more than that. Bob, best is to look after your health as best you can. That's what I'm trying to do, mate. And stay away from doctors and nurses because all they want to do is cut bits out of us and give us medication.
Yes.
Well, I'm actually seeing, I can't praise him enough. Miles, little plug. Yeah, shall I give him a plug? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Miles Fleetwood he's a good man. Where are we? There's his card. See, Aunt Sally's been there, so that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Happy Health Foods, Miles Fleetwood, a nutritionist, herbalist, acupuncturist. Sorry about the shit printing, but it's blue, which can't scan very well.
Yeah.
And there's phone number in Waltham Abbey, and he gives me acupuncture. And I'm on these natural tablets, and I'm gradually cutting these toxic shit out.
Yes.
And he's found out, what's wrong with that. And he's treating it. It's, and no, it was virus I picked up.
Yeah.
It's sort of, but you see things with natural tablets. It takes 3 months to. It's not a quick fix, so it's taken a long time. Hello, it's gone black. Oh, I've gone out. Where am I? Hello, it does this every week, doesn't it?
That's early.
Hello, boys. Yeah, it's a bit early, isn't it? By the way, it's a pretty picture of the outside of it. It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really oldie worldy there.
I like it.
Yeah, it's an oldie. It should be listed building.
Yeah.
But now, as we're talking about royals, do you think we need a royal advert? Are you ready for? I think we do. And here we go. So let us salute.
Hello. Are you partial to something a little different? Do you like to give the two-finger salute to mainstream media? Then look no further than Fockham Hall Radio. With its charming mix of information and lots of archive footage, it really is a treat for the senses. You will surely exclaim, "Well, butter my crumpets," when you peruse all that Fockham Hall has to offer. So just pop along quick sticks to www.fockhamhallradio.com. You'll be assured of a super spiffing time, and as we like to say, Fockham Hall.
I think they're doing merchandise. So you have a cap with Fockham Hall, but it's not citizen, individual, because everybody's an individual.
Yes.
It's Fockham Hall individual, and T-shirts with Fockham Hall individual. Get passports. You see, because I think I don't want everybody trying to move into my house because it'd be a bit crowded, wouldn't it? You know,
it would be.
Your foot out my mouth, please. You know, all that sort of stuff. There'd be a big long queue for the cars here every morning.
Oh, yeah. You don't want that.
Where you are can be Fockham Hall. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're in the desert or anywhere in the world. In fact, you could be an individualist, not citizen of Fockham Hall.
Take it with you.
So that's it. So this is what I'm thinking. And you have a passport.
And a mug.
So, you know, there's no lockdowns in Fockham Hall at all. So there wasn't any here. Nothing like that, you know. So it's all pretty.
Fock Bobs.
Your Fock Bobs, yeah. I ain't got any. I've got them downstairs. Oh, that's a brilliant one. Fock Bobs. You know. You thought that up there, didn't you? Fock Bobs. Yeah, Fock Bobs. So we've got Fock Bobs, our own currency. We'll have. I don't really. Albeit it's the only passport with a pussy cut on the front, because you can say, you know, I've got a passport with a pussy on it, so that's all right.
Yeah.
So that's nice. And I mean, why can't it? And when people say, have you got any means of ID? So yeah, here it is. You can show your Fockham Hall passport, because it's the only passport. It says usual photo. This says unusual photo. So you know, a picture you going like that, or like that. So you say it's like, why not?
Exactly.
Right. Go back into chat, and then we go on to D-Day. And the people say about bleeding time too as well. Just right. Now let's have a look here. This is interesting. I went to cinema. Next day, got text say go something else. What's it? Test. Someone in cinema had boom boom.
Yeah.
I've got a blood pressure meter that's made by them as well. Isn't that interesting?
Strange.
If it's spot on, S. Potter. If it's patented, it's man-made.
Yep.
And Yorkshire Rose. Oh, by the way, Yorkshire Rose in Canada, they're cutting down on the old bang-bangs, the guns, aren't they? That's Justin Castro. Trudeau. He's a naughty man. And they're trying to...
Cash cow.
Yeah, cash cow. MPs all clapping like seals at the vote. Well, most of them I found are immature.
Yeah.
Look at these. They're very immature.
Very.
And I went to the park yesterday, and there's a mayor walking around with his bleeding gong round his neck. I thought, how immature can you get? I feel a complete plonker walking around with that on.
Yeah, I would.
But look at you. I'm so proud. I mean, he's supposed to represent people in the borough. No, he's a bloody waste of money as well. And he was an unelected housing something or other in the council. This bloke's been a councillor for years. He's worked. He knows all the ropes in the council. And I'm trying to find evidence, and I haven't got any. I won't say who the mayor is, but I got a feeling that he's been on a common purpose course, because I went to a planning meeting where the public are allowed, and there was a handler. They have handlers, and there's this woman there, and said to me, "Why are you concerned about just a few houses being built, 360 to be precise, when you've got plenty of green space left? Why are you worried? We've got to house people, you know." And spoke to me like as if I was a little boy, like this, you know. And he
amazing.
And the council sat there as if someone had just shoved a cucumber up his arse, you know, sort of. With a slight smile, sort of. Don't know whether to enjoy it or not. You know?
Yeah.
Yes, it put me off of cucumbers. It did. Anyway, but no. So what I was going to say, Yorkshire, is they're going to ban handguns in Canada, aren't they? And they're trying to go for people with air GUNSs in this country because they're going to stop. You won't be able to use lead.
Yeah.
So, so are you going to do? No. So, how are you going to use it for target practice for sport, of course?
Exactly.
Because lead hits for target practice for sport, of course. It's hits the target well. No, you want to go onto the Slingshot channel. It's a German bloke. He knows his stuff, and if you want some ideas, go on there.
Excellent.
That's right. Mish. It's quite a good one. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes, well, go on to my BitChute channel. It's all about that. You see, after the show, of course. But
not now.
And again, the link to my BitChute channel is not in my crutch. It's down in the description below here. All right.
Yeah. Don't be looking at Chris's crutch.
No, and not a pretty sight. Robbie Greed says, I've spent years researching things like that. Yes. There are no... Yes, I agree with you. I agree. Yeah. I totally agree with you. There is, though, bacteria.
Yes.
There's bacteria. But it's not the bacteria, it's a front bacteria. Yes.
Dave's
yes. And is he really?
He is.
And Bob Olio, that's right. It's CGI for Queenie, isn't it?
Yeah.
It says here, yes, Swissyland, they're called octagon, hence the baubles on the Fox Queen and policemen's helmets. Well, did you know that Swiss genes are very different to the rest of the Europeans because they're Ashkenazis? Because the Ashkenazis, when they left Ukraine, which was Russia, they settled in Switzerland. Yep. Most of them converted to Judaism. It sounds like Judaism. Yeah, they converted that as well. And a lot of them, and ones in Switzerland, converted to Catholicism. And the ones in Sicily, because I went to Sicily, converted to Catholicism. Isn't it strange that where does the mafia come from? Sicily.
Yes.
And where are the banking crooks? Switzerland.
Yes.
But I'm not saying they're all, because there's a lot of very brave ones that speak out against the psychopaths I'm talking about.
That's true.
It's the psychos, because now that's very interesting here. Chris, that was a joke about wasn't being serious, mate. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Kevin. Yeah, I didn't realise that. Bit of a miserable sod these days. I'm getting on a bit. I think it's, I'm at a difficult age. Just we've got to remember, I mean, I sort of tell schoolboy toilet humour and that type of thing,
Yeah.
Jokes, I haven't said a fart joke yet, have I? No. Right. Another year of the blonde bumming baboon. It's a real baboons for parrots. Blonde bumming.
Pass on your apology.
But yes, blonde bumming.
Bumbling, not bumming.
Oh, blonde. I told you it's at a difficult age.
You get pretty glasses checked.
Should have got the Specsavers.
Yeah.
One tunnel goes from Buckhouse to a pub in London.
I've heard that before.
Really?
Yep. Can't remember which pub it is, but yeah.
Now, it says here, it's all theatre, Shirley. They're just puppets, I agree with you. At least Lady Penelope was good looking.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, hi there. I think the acting was a bit wooden on Thunderbirds. That's all I would say. Now it says here, question AD. I wouldn't mind betting one of the underground tunnels that run from the palace goes to Highgate Park, which is owned by the Crown Corporation. I didn't know that. A helicopter could easily take off from there. Now I did hear, now I don't know how true it is, that, do you know Euston Road, there's like an underpass where for no apparent reason the road goes down and up again.
Yeah.
Well, somebody, and I've heard this from two separate sources, but I can't prove it. There's supposed to be what they call a STOL aircraft, which is a short takeoff and landing aircraft, folded away underneath there. And if the shit hits the extractor fan, Queenie and her mob, this plane would be wheeled out Euston Road and the wings unfolded and they'd take off and fly somewhere. Probably to North. I doubt it. I very much doubt it, because I think they would fly out from the palace.
Yeah.
Because you know that was it Horse Guards Parade? That's wide enough for a STOL to take off.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably where they would do it. Because did you know that all the buildings around Buckingham Palace, you cannot get a clear gun sight from any of the high buildings?
No.
That was part of the architect's briefs. So so all over our underpants was written, there cannot be a clear sight line from any of the buildings. So you didn't know that. That's why a lot of architects walk a bit strange, you know. But that says here, more going on underground than above. The world is inside out and upside down.
I would agree with that, Ruby. Yes.
And that's right, Ruby. And apparently in this country, you cannot be further than, I think, 10 miles from an underground tunnel.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah, I've heard that before as well.
Yeah. Now, what we've got here. Now, this is an interesting one. Bob Hollyoak. 6 days, 6 months, 62022 equals 666. Boris Day today.
Yep.
Now you go into numerology, which takes me on to D-Day, because today is the 78th anniversary of D-Day, which Sebastian's father was in, and my dad was in. Sebastian's father was in the Merchant Navy, and what he saw over the side of the ship is not, he couldn't describe. And my dad, as I say, he was in the first assault wave, amongst the first assault waves going in, and they were made up of the unfit, patched up wounded, and the ones that could just about get ashore, because Montgomery expected to have the entire 50th Division, which my dad was part of, wiped out. Yeah. And their job was to soak up enemy fire, and they were called seasoned troops. No, it was euthanasia. Their job was to soak up enemy fire to gain a foothold for following troops. And what happened is that when they got ashore, again, they were thinking ahead, because they didn't want too many people to survive, because they didn't want to put a heavy burden on the welfare after the war. And after the war, my father, he was part of the government directed pensions fraud, where he had his disabled pensions stopped. And in the 1980s, they admitted that they'd stopped the pensions illegally, but you could reclaim, but there's no back pay. And my father was told that his shell shock was brought on by his childhood. And when he had to go to a medical board regularly, I can't remember how long it was, he had to go for, and he said he walked into a room and he had to be carried out because they questioned him and mentally tortured him. And you could hear people screaming in blue murder, because what their job was to put you off of claiming. Yeah. Nice. That's true.
It's disgusting.
It is absolutely disgusting. And that's skillfully been brushed under the carpet. But what I was going to say, and the people like the British Legion and that, I could go on a lot about them, because if they're supposed to be an independent charity, but go on to the government website and there's a link to the British Legion there, because their job, in my view, allegedly, is to reflect an image of veterans that best suits governments.
Yes.
Because they remain unbelievably quiet about the pensions fraud. So what they'll do, they'll help people to claim their entitlements within the government framework, but they will not raise a finger, because if they were really for the veterans, they would have bought, when they were alive, they would have said, right, all the veterans will flood London with veterans, and I ain't going to move until you reinstate everybody's pension.
Yeah.
But they didn't. It's eerily quiet. So it's the shit of the bull again. But what I was going to say about fakes. Now, when you hear about D-Day, I showed my dad, or sister got Saving Private Ryan film, and we had to turn it off after 10 minutes because he was actually on the beach adjacent to where the Americans went in.
Yeah.
And so when he came, it was accurate. Where you hear bullets ricocheting off the front of the landing craft. My dad heard that, and as the thing goes down, the bloke's just most of the bodies being. But my dad believed he had a guardian angel because he actually ran through tracer bullets firing all around him, not one hit him.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, missed him, and he went down into deep water, then got ashore, and they were pinned down. Now, when he saw Saving Private Ryan, we had to turn it off after 10 minutes because he just said, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And he said, whoever advised Spielberg wasn't there. But what my dad had all through his life is people that saw the propaganda and told him what it was like, even though they probably wouldn't be wrong at the time, and they weren't there. And my dad got that frustration. A lot of veterans got that frustration. And the other thing that got them is at the end of the war in 1945, they couldn't wait to get out of the army because they were conscripts. My dad wasn't an army person. He always said he was a civilian pressed into army clothes. And when they got out, they couldn't believe it when they saw British Legion blokes marching along the road with their uniforms with their chest stuck out, and they called it the T-Boy and Just Mystic Brigade, because most of the blokes there, because it took 5 men to keep 1 man at the front. So most of them were the part of the 5 men that didn't see hardly any action. They're prancing around, and there was a lot of fakes as well, because many years ago I was with my dad. He was at St Albans, and there's this old boy standing there with because my dad never wore his medals. He's the most unassuming man ever, and he's there with this bloke with all his medals and that. My dad said, "That's interesting." He said, "What beach were you? Was he the first in on D-Day?" He said, "Yeah, I was the first there, yeah." So he said, "That's interesting." He said, "I think the bloke said he was on Omaha or something." So he said, "Are you American then?" He said, "No." He said, "Because that's where the Americans landed." He said, "And that's very interesting. And you say you're the first one in?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "But you got Royal Artillery. They weren't in until following waves, much later." "How do you know this?" I said, "I was in the 231 Brigade, 231 2nd Devons." He said, "I was in frontline intelligence." His bloke ran off.
Yeah.
He's a fake. He literally, he drained and ran, literally ran away from the day. And my dad had that several times.
Yeah.
So, and another bloke said, "Why are you wearing your medals?" He said, "Because I'm genuine.
Yeah.
I don't have to show off." He said, I'm not a regimental puppet. I don't have to show off, But, as I say, he wrote a book, plug. And if you go on to Fockham Hall, my website, and there's details down below my, down my crutch. I keep on about my crutch and up, but at the comment section, you can buy the book and it'll soon be out on Amazon.
Yes,
can't wait. Shannon and John Hamer, who Shannon's worked really hard. She's actually put it on Kindle for me. Yeah, I'm going to order the book from there soon.
Can't wait. So, because that's the platform I shall be using for it.
And it took him 10 years to write. Publishers wouldn't touch it, and when they did, they wanted to take 2/3 of it out and add a load of bullshit. And one publisher said, "What we'll do," they hadn't read the book, said, "We'll have a picture of a bulldog and a picture of Churchill on the front." And at that point, I didn't say another word. I just closed my briefcase and walked out.
Yeah, too right.
I'm not going to say anything more, and that's where I'll probably get and this is where Sebastian gets his rebellious attitude from the establishment.
Yeah.
Since I was as early, I can remember, it was always, no one's going to tell me what to do. And I think I get it. Yeah. I think I get it from my dad, and Sebastian gets it from his dad.
Yeah.
This sort of fuck off, and that sort of attitude. A silent rebel, and I sort of kick against regimentality and things like that, and hierarchies. And this is what I don't like about the royal family. It's all hierarchy. I'm looking down. Precisely. In a survival situation, who would you want to be with? Big Charlie Boy with his big ears, whose mate was Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
Or Survivor's Dave. I think Survivor's Dave would be your better option, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes. 100%.
Although Survivor's Dave would look at Prince Charles and think, meat.
Tasty.
Right. Right. It says here, I'm pretty sure that I hired Chris as an architect about 20 years ago.
Did you?
Well, I was freelance, Aunt Sally, but I didn't. I started off doing sort of. I mean, would this be a major project? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a bit of a capitalist git in those days. Mercenary, I think the word would be. You know, it was, I've got ethics. I wouldn't work on that project. How much? Oh, I'll work on it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was a bit ethical though. I did refuse to work on the military projects, so I was a bit ethical there. You know, how much? Oh, no, seriously. It says here, adamant is 211 to 148 in Johnson's favour. Not that I give a shit.
No.
Not a shit, really. No. What's that?
It was a loft extension.
Oh, a loft extension. No, I didn't do that. Where were you, Aunt Sally? A loft extension. I didn't do loft extensions. I did house extensions. And where were you? Were you in Essex? I did a couple of house extensions in Essex. That's when my work got a bit low, you know.
Yeah.
That's when I was a bit desperate for money. Now, I'll be straight. I hated doing house extensions because it's so much work. You've got so little pay for it. It's not worth it, really. You know. So Now, this is ancient Ruby. Bless you. Your dad was an amazing man, Chris, and I wish more men were like him.
Yeah.
Then we not live in all this BS.
Agreed.
Yes. Now, the thing is, I'm going to show you some pictures that I believe are fake. Now, there are pictures, as I was going back to this PR thing, that showed you French ladies waving flags, welcoming British troops that were liberated in France. Now, if you go onto my warveteran.co.uk, you'll see a video that I did about 10 years ago where I talked about D-Day, and I won't go into it too much now, but when you see the French coming out, and all this,
yeah,
I'll give you an experience. Remember, my dad was in frontline intelligence, so they were often surrounded. A lot of them could speak German, and there's a lot of academics in frontline intelligence, but they went through the thick of it. They had one of the highest casualty rates. And when they went into French villages and towns, they were treated with a very cold reception and told, we don't want to get you liberated, go home, Tommy. Now, that's very different to what we're told. And they were actually up against French snipers who were there to hold up the advancing forces so that the German army could regroup.
Yeah.
And they've sort of whitewashed history in that and done a lot of, that's pretty. Now, when you see there's pictures, now I've been looking for them on YouTube and they've disappeared.
Yeah,
as usual. Be looked in the wrong place. I don't know. I was going to say I might show them next week. It's Sebastian, if you can find them, mate. If anybody can find them, and it's pictures of French women holding flags, Union Jack flags, hugging the British troops. Now, I was told by two separate sources that those photographs were taken in 1943 before D-Day in Herefordshire.
Right.
I haven't got the proof. If you ask me for proof, I haven't got it, but I was told that. And what happened is, when you think about it, let's take a step back, okay? The troops looked very clean shaven, well turned out, and they had Matador trucks, which was the standard army truck in those days.
Yeah.
No mud or sand or shit underneath the arches. Nice and clean. And remember, they come across the channel. They're going to come up a filthy beach. They've been fighting these blokes. They'd have a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow, wouldn't they?
I would have thought so.
And they would have been a bit whiffy and all.
Yeah.
immaculately turned out.
Mm.
And then they said on a BBC documentary, these women had saved these flags throughout the German occupation. Huh? So that you're telling me that they went out before the war to buy Union Jack flags? Bullshit. Propaganda.
Yeah.
And that happened way behind the front line. Now, the other thing is there was a chap called Howard Marshall, and there's been other Howard Marshalls, but this Howard Marshall was on the ship, the mothership that my father was on. And what they did, they had the landing craft either side of the ship, and they had to get into the landing craft, and they were lowered down before they went ashore. And he was supposed to go ashore with my dad's lot, but it was so bad, the gunfire, that he didn't. So he stayed on board the ship and made out he went ashore with the troops. And there was a BBC record that my dad got after the war of him doing the report of D-Day. And this stupid git said, there's barges, he meant landing craft, and I'm just standing here talking to the chaps who are in fine fettle. What? If it had stood there, it'd have been dead.
Yeah.
They were pinned down and being bombarded. Now, when you see Saving Private Ryan, you hear machine guns. Now, there was machine guns, but they were being absolutely pounded, and they were deafened. My dad had hearing problems because all they could hear was the ringing in the ears, because you knew how noisy that was. And the only way they could get off of that beach, because they had to go, remember, they had to go ahead and they had to lay our markers out for following troops. And what they did, they actually ran across a live minefield. They didn't have time to get their bayonet scabbards out, the bayonets out and tap round to see if that's what they used to do. It used to take ages to get across a minefield. They had to chance it.
Yeah.
And laid out. Now, what they didn't know was the RAF had bombed the detonators, trains carrying the detonators. So only 1 in 6 mines were live. So my dad wouldn't have been here now if the mines have all been live.
Yeah.
Now, Howard Marshall saying the chaps are in fine fettle, you know. And after the war, my dad said, I was, on Gold Beach, jig section, and he had people saying, oh yeah, that was easy, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. We was pinned down. No, we heard Howard Marshall. He said he was standing talking to the chaps, and they believed this chap was making up a pack of lies, who was too shit scared to go. I'm sure. So he was making it up as he was going along. Who it was to report it? Well, it was shit basically. Yeah. So they believed him, but they wouldn't believe the dad. And
mad, isn't it?
BBC local radio, and they gave him short shift when we did the book because he wasn't wearing his medals or wasn't wearing any regalia, and they sort of made it look as if he wasn't a real veteran. Yeah.
Like you say, you shouldn't need all that stuff, should you, to prove your work?
That's right. He had an incredible array of medals per day. I mean, he wasn't going to send off for them. And he's kept them in the boxes because, you know the way they came? Tarnished and threadbare. And he said, I want you to show future generations what this country thought of us.
Yeah.
So now, Sebastian, hello, mate, who's got a very bad cold, so we'll all wish him better.
Yes.
Yeah, a good point. And it happened in Belgium and France. Now, Sebastian's dad, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Sebastian. He was in the Merchant Navy and he went ashore in the Netherlands. People always say it's Holland. It's not Holland. Holland is a district of the Netherlands.
Yeah,
it's the Netherlands.
It is,
And the Dutch people made it known that they didn't want the Allies there. And the Allies were being rather unpleasant. And there was bodies floating down the canals of the Dutch resistance against the Allies.
God.
There was a resistance against the Allies. They didn't want them there. So this idea that there's everyone, not quite right.
No.
And what my father found in France, he was told that the people were starving, all that. All the shops were absolutely crammed full of food.
Yeah.
And cheeses and things like that. And again, the French people were ice cold. They just did not want. And what people have said is, the reason it was ice cold is because they were frightened that if the Allies were pushed back, they would get reprisals from the Germans. No. but not all of them. There was one, but there was an elderly lady that was tending graves. She was a nice old dear, you know. I'm just generalising. General attitude was, piss off, Tommy, we don't want you here.
Yeah.
And let's face it, bombing their homes and bombing their housing, and you know. And another chap went up to my dad's lot and said, "Have you got any petrol?" Petrol? He said, "Yeah, for my car." He said, "Well, the Germans gave it to me." Yeah. Right, now what we got, loads in chat, so that's it. Now I hope I said that right, Sebastian, about with your dad, but he saw quite a lot of what happened ashore, and it's not what we were told is
to believe.
Yeah, we're told what they want us to believe and indoctrinate us to believe, and it's true what Yorkshire Roads was saying. Should have used crisis actors like they do today.
Yeah.
That's right.
You look at all these videos of things that have happened. It's so bloody obvious when you see the same people over and over again, or you see what they're doing behind the scenes, and you're like, why are people falling for this?
Well, I'll show you a typical scene, okay? Now, I can't find those scenes. I've looked on the internet. It's probably still there, of the French women kissing the British troops. I don't know if you've seen them when they're running along with a flag, the Union Jack flags.
Yep.
I looked everywhere before I came on here. I just couldn't find them. But I did find these. Now, this is a picture supposed to be the front line coming ashore on D-Day. Now, let's have a look at this. First of all, we've got a bloke standing up. Well, he had his ball shot off by the time this that was true. And they're all huddled together. My father's lot and the troops were told, do not huddle together, and that to stand at least 10 foot apart from each other, because the casualty rate on the battlefield was less in the Second World War per head than the First World War, because they all grouped together. And here's another fake photograph. When I say fake, these are genuine troops, yes, but they are probably the front line is probably 20 miles in shore by then, or 10 miles inshore. They would not be huddling together in a battlefield condition like that. They just wouldn't do it, because it was throughout the British Army. You had to stand away from each other, and when they were on the battlefield, you didn't. The only time you stood close, like the intelligence stood close, but it was just one person, because my dad sometimes had a radio on his back, and the radio operator was next to him. That's the only time. Otherwise, you spread out. And on D-Day on the beach, you got off the landing craft and spread out. You know, so that was the order, and you did not stand close, because in the First World War they went over the top in mass. And the machine guns went, whereas they learned that in the Second World War, if a bomb goes off, you only hit about 2 or 3 blokes, whereas if they're all done together, you might hit 20 or more.
Yeah,
but it was that was good training. So when you see those pictures, I'll show them again. Here they are. Just remember that. And of course, if this was the front battle, would that bloke have time to look around at the camera and smile?
Not
and
really.
That bloke was going having a chat with his mate. No, I think the cameraman said, "Oh, okay, fellas, all go down, sit down to the ground." Because another thing, you see, you've got tanks there that have been de-waterproofed. You see in the background.
Yeah.
Now they had floating tanks that floated in. They're not floating tanks. You can see that. I think that's a Churchill tank, and has all been de-waterproofed. So it couldn't have been the frontline battle. And here they put this bloke is behind. That makes it look realistic, as if he's taking cover. But quite honestly, I'm not sure if that's clouds or smoke or trees in the background there.
Looks like trees to me, actually. Probably
trees. But again, they wouldn't be allowed to huddle together like that on the beach. They simply wouldn't be allowed to.
No.
That was their training. You spread out, you keep apart to keep your friends safe.
Yeah.
That was it, you know. So, and also you notice there's no decapitated bodies, because the beach was full of bits of heads, arms, legs, blood, guts, and the whole sea was red. Yeah. As my dad was coming in, because the Americans went in first, they were actually ploughing through corpses and bits of body and things like that. And my uncle, who wasn't born then, he got into like a trench that was sort of shallow, but the water was washing away, and someone kept touching him like this, bloody hell's going on? And when the things had died down a bit, he looked round, and it was a corpse that had been there for a long time, was bloated. It was just floating like this. Yeah. And my dad often jumped into a trench, and there'd be dead Germans there, sort of like this, and pit with blood and gore, you know. But
no wonder they got bloody PTSD, is it?
Sorry?
No wonder PTSD.
He told more than that when I was a kid, you know, and Sebastian goes, but they didn't realise that they were scaring the shit out of you as a child.
Oh, yeah, no.
But you see, the thing is, and I'm not blaming him, don't get me wrong, I'm never blaming him.
No.
He didn't know. But we got in the, I tried to be a little bit shallow on this because I tend to get a bit emotional when I talk about it.
Yeah.
But he would have been 103 this year, my dad.
Wow.
So there we go. Yes. So, and now it says here, this is Sebastian. Allied soldiers bricked up pubs in Belgium and Holland due to not being, bricked up some pubs in Belgium.
Some pubs.
Yeah, due to not being served. As I say, some. Yes, that's interesting. That's interesting. And Sebastian said, Allied soldiers had very itchy trigger fingers. That's correct. That's correct, yes. I think more the Americans did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Americans, we found out afterwards, the American Air Force, most of them are out of their brains on drugs.
Yeah. And
what happened is when they captured German prisoners, they used to have a laugh and joke with them. And one of them said, it was a senior officer, he said, when you bomb, we get our heads down. When we bomb, you get your heads down. When the Americans bomb, everybody gets their heads down. And there was a time just after D-Day when they were bombed and strafed by American planes, and an apology has just come through, and they got bombed and strafed again by American planes, even though they'd laid out huge markers on the ground.
Yeah.
The Canadians opened up and shot one of the fighters down, and the Germans stopped firing because they knew, and they used to send, I've still got some publicity leaflets or propaganda leaflets down, because they knew that the British, and this was then, they didn't like the Americans because the Americans were over here taking the British women.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, GIs.
Off with blokes' wives and that. And the Canadians, there was a terrible rivalry between the Canadians and the Americans. They hated each other.
Yeah.
So they get so sick of being fired upon, they'd fire back. So there was a battle going on between the Allies. Yeah. So, you know, again, there's all sort of rosy in that. But no, I mean, I'm not, and you know, I mean, it was terrible for the Americans. I feel sorry for the poor sod the plane that got shot down by the Canadians. I hope he survived.
Friendly fire.
That's right.
Not friendly fire.
Well, I've looked in over 20 old churches in England at the old gravestones from 1700s up to 1900s. Most died 80s, 90s years old. That's correct. Yes. Now, this is another thing about the NHS that gets me. I remember, I'll show my age now, that in the early 70s, it was a lot of people just lived to over 100. Yeah. Very common. Loads of them. And they were very fit. Now, hardly anybody gets past 80.
Exactly. Yeah.
Drops. It's only people like Queenie and the rich ones that survive. You know.
My great-grandmother that died in 77, in fact, she died round about when Elvis died. She was 102.
Well, my granddad's mother, she died just, I think, shortly before her 103rd birthday. I can just about remember. I was very young.
Yeah.
Yeah. She lived to a ripe old age. And for her 100th birthday, my comedian uncles bought her a see-through 90. And she cracked a gag as well. You know, everyone have a right old laugh. Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah. It's quite surprising.
Yeah.
Now, it says here, this is quite an interesting one. Hello, V. It's me, Ree McCredden from Bristol, isn't it? Or Bath?
Bristol.
Sorry about that. You separate and spread out in any advance.
That's true.
That's rich. Well, you see them. You see them on the film. Well, you see them on real documentary films. They come out the landing craft and boom, you spread out. First thing you do, you don't all huddle together like those blokes. No. You can see that. Yeah. Now it says here, you and you should have at least 3 retreat routes. Now, I get upset Rosanna now, because I always have laughs about Italian tanks having, was it 1 forward gear and 5 reverse and all that. But what people don't realise is that when the Italians changed sides, they fought like lions. They were psychotic. You don't hear that. Tough sods. Yeah. And the British commanders who were with the Italians were absolutely amazed. They put them in as crack troops. So, you know, you hear the funny sides of it. The Italians, because wars are fought in the hearts and minds of people. Yeah. And I've often said the First World War officially started in 1914, but 20 years prior, they worked people up in the press, because if anything went wrong, like there was an explosion or a fire, it was always caused by Germans operating, because they wanted anti-German feeling. So by 1914, people were chomping at the bit to go and have a go at the Hun, the Germans. Yeah. So, but look at Vietnam, conscripts out there, the heart wasn't in it. And when you look at the Italian army, because the difference between Italy and Germany was, Italy was fascist, true fascist, but Germany was National Socialist, which is slightly different. Yeah. And Spain was fascist, and Hitler detested Franco, and Franco detested Hitler. And there's pictures of them shaking hands, not looking at each other. And Hitler said he'd rather have his teeth extracted without anaesthetic than meet Franco. He hated it, because it was a slightly different political ideology. Yeah. Now, this is an interesting one from Sebastian Moran. That picture could be fake, as that is a perfect target for artillery. Yes, you're right, Sebastian. And did you notice that? I think it was a Churchill tank. It looked like it in the background. It had been fully dewaterproofed. Well, you couldn't fully deproof a tank because the first tanks ashore were the floating tanks. Yes. Yeah. And my dad saw those, and they're like a kind of they were Sherman tanks. But they got a lot that sunk and killed all the crew. It's terrible. But he saw a lot of those, and DKW ducks that they call them, DKWs. But those other tanks had to be dewaterproofed, because and they would have gone in, like the Churchill tanks would have gone in much later. So again, that is posed. Unwashed and slightly dazed. There is a good book about how Churchill messed up the operation in Holland. I think you mean the Netherlands there, mate. To give the Jerrys more time to move their treasures. Yes, in the First World War, Churchill completely buggered up the Gallipoli landings, which was a huge mistake. And before D-Day, Churchill wanted to invade neutral Portugal, had a plan to invade neutral Portugal and go up through Portugal and attack France, going to the top route. And number one, it would have been against international law to attack a neutral country. Yep. And number two, that a lot of resources were spent proving to Churchill that it would have been ridiculous and a bloodbath. Yeah. And the other thing was that when I first started work, I started working in a place called Overup, and Sir Ove, the old boy who was Danish, who ran Overup, so they were the people who did the Wobbly Bridge. They had architects as well. He used to come along lunchtime occasionally and have a chat. And he said during the war, Churchill had this idea that if you drew a square and told people to stand in it and they'd be perfectly safe, they'd believe it, because he didn't want to spend the money out on air raid shelters. Yeah. And then they said to him, well, do you realise some of your civil servants might get caught short in London in an air raid? And he went, and then they'd built air raid shelters. Yeah. Yeah.
Wouldn't have been for just the general public.
That's right. Now, Ancient Ruby has hit the nail on the head. She said, the saddest thing is they were forced to fight. Yes. Yeah. My dad was deep down was a pacifist. Yeah. And he was against killing. I am against killing, except psychopaths. Yeah. People like Tony Blair and that spud, who's that? And our gracious leader. Hang on. Shall we show our gracious leader?
Yeah.
Where is he? I've got it here somewhere. Here he is, our gracious leader. Oh, here he is. Yes, I think the only thing that cures them is a small piece of lead inserted behind here, administered by Smith and Wesson.
Fast.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I'm passionately against the death sentence and things like that. I'm very, but for them it's different. Yes. Now we got here. Where are we? John Bashinglow. Hello, mate. Here we go.
Yes.
I think I'm not right. I think you're in America, aren't you? They used Sherman tanks called DD duplex drives. They had skirts. That's it. That's what we did. So all around and would fold up all around like an accordion. They kept the skirts on for weeks afterwards as they pushed forward. That's right. My dad saw them. He I always remember my dad talking about them. They called them, was it tanks with skirts? That's it. Yes. But that was when they got further inland. And here we go. It says, by June 6, 1944, this is John Bashinglow, as a military and nation, Germany was already defeated and the walking dead. The German Luftwaffe and Weimar was ground down on the Russian steppes and also North Africa. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yes. Because they tried to fight on two fronts.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Operation Barbarossa in 1941, they didn't really have much option because the Soviet Union was planning to invade Europe. Yeah. And by a Swedish envoy, they wanted the Allies to join with them to stop the communist threat. And they couldn't understand, Germany couldn't understand why we were funding the communists.
Yeah.
And that's why during Operation Barbarossa, the Russians had such a defeat because they've trained their army for attack, not defense.
Yes.
It took them by surprise. But they also went late with Operation Barbarossa for two reasons. One, there was terrible rains. And of course, the ground was too wet to hold their tanks. And the tanks would have got bogged down. Secondly, Hitler had dysentery. And it was a shit time, isn't it? He had the Welshes, because when they, he had the Welshes, yes, diarrhea. So anyway, sorry about that.
Toilet humour creeps in again.
Toilet humour, yes. Now it says here, Bob Hardy Oaks, it's slow kill from day one, the and shit food, yes.
Yeah.
Agree with you there.
Totally.
Yes. And it says, who was that author plus David Irving? Who was
that author, please? David Irving, who you mentioned earlier, I think.
Who was that author? I'm talking about that Howard Duflop. He was the reporter, wasn't he? He wasn't an author. What was his name? Howard Carter, I think his name. And there's nothing to do with. There's nothing to do with Tutankhamun.
Yeah, earlier.
No, I don't. Can you remind me, mate? I don't know. I'm ever so sorry about that. It's Potter. If you can remind me. You can remember
what's going on in the chat to be keeping up.
I know. I'm at a difficult age, so
it's tricky.
Had a bit of trouble with my router earlier, but we won't go into it.
Delicate situation.
I was only getting one signal instead of two.
So instead of two.
That's right, 1, 2, and I needed 3. There's all the Italians like, what the man, he's going to do the rota times on it there, yeah. Those Italians switching off now.
Yeah.
Hatchy. Modern soldering is completely different.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. But I think what they do now, they get people who can hardly speak English and they put a rifle in their hands and just say, aim it that way. Kevin Keener, what are your thoughts on the French in World War II? Where do I start?
Well,
we're coming up to 2 hours now. Have you got another 2 hours? Right. I think the best man to speak to you on that would be Sebastian Ryan. He studied the French resistance. Okay. He's better informed than I am, done it, but it was the French resistance fighting each other because it was the communists. Most of it was. What they did to civilians is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because I spoke to a German telegram, a wireless operator, a female, and she was Austrian, and she joined the German army, and she learned to speak English at evening classes in occupied France.
Right.
And she said her friend was captured by the French resistance, and what they did to her is so unpleasant. She almost broke down when she told me. She said, "What kind of people would do that to an innocent girl, unarmed, who was just doing a job?"
Yeah,
and
all sorts of horrific things.
And apparently the French resistance accepted anybody, and they cleared the lunatic asylums out, and they had people that were psychologically. Now, what happened as the Allies went through France, I don't know if you've ever seen it, they got young ladies and they shaved their hair off, and they accused a lot of women of being collaborators when they weren't.
Yes.
And it could be a girl that worked as a waitress in a coffee shop and just took orders from Germans, which was her job, and she would be treated the same way. Lots of women were raped, lots of people disappeared. There was lots of mass murder going on, and the Allies turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things that has been completely covered up. Sebastian is the man to speak to on this, and I'd like to have him on the show, and he would be able to say more about it because he studied it more. I have also studied it, but I've forgotten a lot about it because I did it many years ago. My dad's lot was supposed to be joining up with the French, or being contacted by the French resistance, but they never saw them. And also, they said that the day that the air would be full of planes. Only saw one, and it was a reconnaissance plane. And recently, I actually found this video. I haven't put them on tonight. The photos that reconnaissance plane took of the beach where my dad was.
Right.
So I actually found that reconnaissance plane.
Yeah.
On here, you know, but I think we do a whole program about France. Yes, there were some genuine people. There's always exceptions to the rule, but what we're talking to, you see, what gets me, they show you the films of the French resistance, and it's always the violins, isn't it? And the German, you think the German army, everywhere they went, they got the music. Must have given them, drawn them mad, you know. Now they've got here. Imagine sending them in now. They would die without the mobiles, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Can you imagine all the snowflakes?
Yep. Well, I can't do that.
Transgenders. Would you have the transgenders going in? Well, actually, if they're cross-dressers, because part of war is surprise. It'd be a bloody surprise to the enemy, wouldn't it?
You've only to look at it. Haven't you?
Sorry, what did you say? Sorry, I talked over you then.
I said you've only to look at it, ain't half hot, Mum.
Yes. I've never seen so many beeps in all my life. Windsor Davis was perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Now it says here, the amount of war movies produced afterwards were the main driver in the storyline for us to believe. Entertaining, yes, but very dubious in truth. Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, there's two it's what really happened and the Hollywood version.
Yeah.
And we know who runs Hollywood. I need not say anymore because I don't want to get banned. But let's put it this way. None of us were alive during the American Civil War. Okay.
No.
I can't help it. Nobody can help it. But when you think the American Civil War, you just think of Hollywood, don't you? The films.
Yeah.
But it's probably nothing like that.
Probably not.
Yes. Now it says here, this is Robert. Oh, hello, Robert. A mention of that great Green Howard Stanley Hollis VC citation should be made. There were a great many brave men who fought on that day, but he was a standout. Yes. And there's brave men on both sides, on the German side as well, because they were just doing their job. And I'd like to mention, before we sort of close up, one thing which usually gets me choked when I say it. When they got further on into France, there were massive battles going on, and two German stretcher bearers wandered into their British lines.
Right.
And one of them could speak English, but it didn't matter because as I say, the frontline intelligence, most of them could speak German, and they said, we are non-combatant. We're here to save lives. And it was such a pitched battle that the Allied stretcher bearers have been killed, and they risked their lives going out into no man's land, bringing back wounded.
Yeah,
incredibly brave men, and they had to order them to stop because it was against the Geneva Convention. And when they were sent back to what they called the cage, which was the POW camp, there wasn't a dry eye amongst the blokes.
No, I can imagine.
And there's lots of British servicemen that are alive thanks to those two brave German stretcher bearers.
Yeah.
And so it always gets me a bit choked when I say this, but and what happened is my dad wanted to contact them after the war, and we put out a request on the Classic FM, and it's fantastic. Classic FM. Do you know what they did? They ignored us.
Oh.
And they didn't put the music because we put some nice music on for them.
Yeah.
And we also contacted the German press, and they fantastic it was. They went out. They really did a fantastic job, and they ignored us, except for one, which was what was it now? One of the leading papers. And I went down to London. We went down there, spoke to the journalist, but it was pulled. It was never printed. So we never know what happened to those men. So we hope they survived the war, and I hope they had a happy life afterwards. But one was very tall and one was very short.
Oh.
And there's lots of instances which you don't read in books where Allied soldiers risk their lives to save injured enemy.
Yeah.
And enemy soldiers risk their lives to save Allied. You don't hear that, but
No.
they did. Also, remember, the German army was full of conscripts, and the British army was full of conscripts, and it's not natural to kill. And now I do get that. So it's quite interesting. Let's put it this way: lots of people aim to miss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Because they want it on their conscience. Because we're not conditioned to kill. People think we are, but we're not.
No,
so
we're
there
not.
we go. Now, it says here, yes. Now, I'll just read a couple more of the ancient ruby. One thing the government knows for sure that they could not get anymore to anyone to fight today, and the very reason AI is coming in.
Yeah.
Right. Unwashed and somewhat sprightly days. Hitler only did he really? And the other was in the Albert Hall. The other was in the Albert Hall. How did they get hold of only one of his balls? I don't know. It was a bit like a cock and ball story to me, mate, isn't it? You know. Next is here. Beer is full of estrogen.
Yeah.
And that and all. Estrogen.
Estrogen.
Yes.
Women's hormones, darling.
Is it really? Oh, well,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Kim, night, everyone.
She's gone now.
Great show as usual. Kim. Oh, well, she's pissed off, so she's gone. We can talk about her now, can't we? Right, I'll just see if there's any stand out. What's this? We've got, there's lots here. Look, I'd love to read them all out, but I think we've got to go. And let's, what's it? Amo aha.
Laugh my ass off.
Yes, laugh my ass off. Now, thank you very much, everybody, for coming on the show tonight. Everyone in chat is fantastic. We haven't had any trolls, have we?
No,
your first night as a moderating, you haven't been able to cut
nicely.
That's right. Thank you, everybody, for your help. It's been fantastic in chat. Thanks for a great show.
Yes.
And next week, I don't know what we're going to do next week because, as I say, hopefully we'll have John back next week. But on Wednesdays, we're going to start up the Naughty Show again. But this will only be on BitChute, possibly Facebook if it's not too naughty. Now, how we got away with Dawn and David on what really makes you Tom and Dick, shall we say, on Facebook, I do not know, but it's still there.
Well,
and so we're going to hopefully get Dawn and David back, who wrote that book. We're hoping to get a few more controversial people on the Wednesday show. and it will be recorded, but it will go out live on Facebook. Now, if you want to see my Facebook channel, just look on foghamhallradio.com. That's my website, which again there's links below here, and you'll see additional, and you can go over to the BitChute channel, because obviously because of the censorship on here, we can't do naughty shows. So we'll be doing a naughty show on there, and I think you'll be interested on some of them, Deb, but Travis, it's during the day. It's 11 o'clock in the morning originally.
Right, yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, fine, yeah.
Right. And so watch out. I'm not sure we're doing one this week, but we're going to be doing one with Professor Moss.
Yes.
Yeah. I've also got, I'm not sure I can mention her name, Lady Michelle, shall we say.
Right.
And also a lady who's half German.
Right.
Well, no, she's all German, but she's brought up in Canada. So she's bilingual, she speaks. And her brother is currently in prison for saying naughty things in native Deutschland, Germany, and he's doing a 7-year stretch.
Bloody hell.
Showing how high his dog can jump, if you get what I mean.
Right, yeah.
Doing a they're very strict on it, a Roman salute, which actually means, the Roman salute means, I come in peace, I come with an open hand.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes,
Join us same time, same place next week. And if you'd like to buy a cup of coffee, details, buy me a coffee down here as well. Sorry, not my crutch, no. I wouldn't advise drinking coffee, although I've spilt coffee down there before now.
Bet you moved.
And did you know, I didn't notice that coffee is not good for computer keyboards. Now, you learn something every day. I thought it was good for.
I told you that.
That's right. And I was Olive here. Was it?
Oh, well.
No, it didn't much, mate. It's a load of crap tonight. You can see it afterwards because it's on here. And we've got Michelle Salisbury. Good night, Chris and Deb. Great show. Thank you again. But hang on. Shall I get her a bit?
Thank you.
Hang on,
Hello.
Deb.
The boots
She's
are coming out.
all unnecessary because I'll show you my Eichberg. She likes these. See, you've got my Eichbergs. See,
There you go.
she's coming over all unnecessary now. Here we are. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. Same time, same place, and remember, whatever happens, have a laugh.
Yes.
Good night.
Night, everybody.